This video is sponsored by Incogni. Most people don't realize this, but your personal information is all over the internet. Your name, address, email address, and even phone number can end up on websites that you've never signed up to. That information is bought and sold, and it's a big reason why people get scam phone calls and spam emails. It also makes it easier for criminals to use this exposed data for scams, stalking, harassment, and other illegal activity. You can try to remove this information yourself, but doing so manually takes hundreds of hours. Even worse, the data often comes back and you have to start all over again. That's where Incogni comes in. Incogni removes your personal data from hundreds of these data broker websites automatically. You sign up once, give them permission, and they handle everything in the background. No forms, no emails, and no chasing anyone. One of the most useful features is custom removals. If you find your information on a specific website, you simply send Incogni the link and a real person will take care of it for you. You do not need to know what to say or who to contact. If you want fewer spam calls, fewer scam attempts, and more peace of mind, use the code Anfield Agenda at checkout to get 60% off the annual plan. Take back control of your personal data because they can't harm you if they can't find you. What is up, my friends? How are we? It is my final late night agenda before I take a week's break. Lovely to be with you all. We've a lot to discuss this evening. We're going to be speaking about Jurgen Klopp, the links to Ronald Araujo. We're going to be asking, is Mohamed Salah really unhappy, as one former Liverpool player seems to believe? We'll also ask about why the club are wheeling out former player after former player for interviews in support of keeping Arne Slot on. It's a clear tactic, but one that I hope most people will see through. If they're not actually asking them to do it, it's a big coincidence that a lot of former players, really on the fringes as well, ones whose opinion I really don't give a damn about, to be honest, but we'll talk about that tonight as well. We'll go through whatever it is you guys would like to discuss on top of it, and of course, appreciate you guys joining me. A bit of an emotional one, this. I always miss you when I'm away, so yeah, I'm looking forward to tonight. 1 week of no me, but you will have Connor. Connor will still be here putting out some news videos for you, but again, appreciate your understanding. These are the time, one of the few times of the year we get to squeeze in a little break, so looking forward to it. Right, loads to get through tonight, ladies and gentlemen. There's also some chatter that Roberto De Zerbi could be the new Spurs coach if they stay up and don't get relegated. Matt Law of The Telegraph said, exclusive, Roberto De Zerbi open to permanent Spurs job if clubs stay in the Premier League. Plus, Spurs in the final stages of their sporting director hunt. Sources in Germany believe Sebastian Kell is in the frame. So we'll talk about that as well. But as always, it's your show. Let me know what you want to discuss. The situation with the Mohamed Salah, tough stuff we will get through. Don't worry, we'll get to that in a moment. But quite a good bit of news to go through today. Where to start? Let's start with Jurgen Klopp, actually. It seems as good a place as any. He's been linked with move after move, job after job, but he keeps batting these away and saying he's no interest in coming back. I mentioned a little bit on the video earlier on today about the situation with Kloppo. Basically saying that he's quite happy where he is. He's quite happy in his retirement and he's enjoying life. He said, since I left Liverpool, I didn't even know when the games were on. I've been doing sports, enjoying life, spending time with my grandkids, completely normal things, knowing I wouldn't go back to work as a coach. I'm 58 now. If I was to start again at 65, somebody would remind me that I once said I wouldn't return. Well, I'd tell them I meant it 100% at the time. But honestly, I don't feel like I'm missing out on anything by not coaching. And there's a little bit more on this as well, because despite the links to Real Madrid and Atletico Madrid, Jurgen Klopp confirms that he hasn't spoken to either. So he said, neither Real Madrid nor Florentino have called me even once, not once. My agent is there, you can ask him, not him either. It's also rumoured that I'm going to coach Atletico Madrid. So I think Klopp's still batting away any of these links to him coming back to coaching, but I think the big question will come if, of course, Julian Nagelsmann departs the German national team job after the World Cup. Then maybe Klopp might have a tough decision to make. So the first poll that we have of the evening is around the links to Ronald Araujo of Barcelona. And I want to know what you guys think about it. Let me read out the story to you and then we'll go from there. So this comes from Mundo Deportivo over in Spain. And they say, Liverpool interest in Araujo signals defensive recalibration. Now, no real surprise that Liverpool are looking to recalibrate defensively. We've already seen the situation with Canade still up in the air. So this one said, Araujo's situation carries a different dynamic. The Uruguayan centre-back, still only 25 years of age, has experienced fluctuating performances under Hansi Flick and fluctuating prominence under Hansi Flick. That is not going unnoticed in England. Reports suggest Liverpool could test the waters with an offer in the region of €35 million. From a market perspective, that figure would appear modest given Araujo's pedigree, physical profile and contract length, which runs until 2031, following his renewal in January 2025. Barcelona's position is strengthened further by interest from other heavyweights, including Bayern Munich and Inter Milan. Hence the reason we're asking you guys tonight, would you be happy if Liverpool signed Ronald Araujo from Barcelona? Honest answer for me on this one, I'm on the fence. I couldn't commit one way or the other. Yeah, it wouldn't be top of my list of priorities, but I do like a Uruguayan. I do like that Uruguayan mentality. He is very experienced for 25 years of age, and you know, could you see a world where Canade departs and somebody like Araujo comes in? Yeah, I could see that. We've talked about it before. Liverpool are going to have to replace experience with experience in this regard. You couldn't just bring in another young centre-back. We've got Xhaka, we've got Giovanni Leone. Feels weird, by the way, saying we've got Jeremy Xhaka, because, of course, we haven't seen him in a Liverpool top or do an interview or anything yet, but we do know that deal is done. So, yeah, let me know your thoughts on that one. We'll leave the poll running for a little while, and then we'll come back and see what you guys think. Right, given the situation, or fuel shortages, I think Arne should do the decent thing and stay in Holland. And so I learned a little bit that I didn't know about Arne. I didn't know that apparently he lives in Manchester, near the airport. Genuinely didn't know that. Makes sense, though, if he's going to have these little quick jaunts and jollies away. But it really kind of, I don't know how I feel about that. I do like the idea of somebody coming to Liverpool to take the Liverpool job to, you know, immerse themselves in the city. But, you know, maybe he just feels it's better for his personal circumstances, of course, if he lives in Manchester. I remember when Xabi Alonso signed for the club, I think he was renting an apartment down by the docks or something like that, and he really went out of his way to, you know, make sure he got to the beating heart of the city and made sure that he understood it. And again, it kind of plays back into my thoughts with Klopp, or not Klopp, Slot, that he just, I don't know, just disconnect. And that's a word, by the way, Chelsea fans are also feeling. There's been a few articles doing the rounds that Chelsea fans not only feel a disconnect with their coach, but also with the ownership group of their football club, which, to be fair, I can totally understand. Why have I got a red line by my name? It's not shown on my side, Tony, mate. On my side, it just shows up as Tony Carrington 1. There's no red line or anything like that, dude. I don't know if it's something on, I don't know what way you're watching us, whether you're on your phone or your computer, mate. But for me, it's just showing you as normal, sir. Motorhome Dreamer said, wishing you and your family a great holiday, Craig. We'll miss these evening sessions. As will I. I truly will. I won't be able to stream when I'm away, because I remember I've been at this place before and the Wi-Fi is, it's good enough to upload a video over a long time, but it wouldn't be good enough to do a stream or anything. So if anything does happen, and you know what I usually keep an eye on if I'm away in international during international breaks is you want to make sure nobody's picking up injuries or anything like that. So we'll of course discuss that if it does come up. But seeing as how we're talking about injuries, let's get straight into the situation with Fede, because well, not only has he left the Italian camp, but there seems to be some uncertainty as to exactly why. So this piece here that you can find on the Anfield Agenda X account, official statement from the Italian national team, said Federico Chiesa, whose condition was assessed upon arrival at the Federal Technical Centre, was deemed unavailable for the next 2 matches and, in agreement with the club, left the national team's training camp. Then we had some other other thoughts around this situation from Gattuso. He said, all players are different. He didn't feel up to it. He went back home and I have to accept that. If a player tells me he's not feeling well and is convinced of that, it's useless to keep insisting. He went on to say, there are players that deserve the call, like Zaniolo, Bernardeschi, Fagioli, but I had to give some faith to the group that I formed. Every team has injuries. I want no excuses. We're only thinking about the match and not who could have been there. Chiesa showed up with some physical problems and it was pointless to keep him here. I don't know what is going on under the current manager of the Italian national team, but himself and Chiesa don't seem to be in sync on this one, and many other times as well. Is he unfit? Is it speaking to the greater situation at Liverpool? Is it a personal thing with Chiesa? Did he feel unwell? I don't know, but what I can say to you is he is now back away from the Italian national team. Paddy Wacker, how are you, man? Said Craig, love yourself and your family. Love to yourself and your family. Hope you have a brilliant holiday. I hope TLH doesn't come back with a little addition to the Houlden family. Well, there'd be big problems, dude, if there was, because it wouldn't be mine for a start, because, I've been fixed. So, yeah, it definitely wouldn't be me. So, I don't think we have that one to be concerned about, to be honest with you. I think we're fairly safe in that regard. Which game made you realise Slot isn't the right fit for Liverpool? AJ, there wasn't really one game. There was, of course, I guess, a turning point. And that probably came after somewhere around that PSV Eindhoven, Manchester City, and who was the other one we lost to by 3 goals? Was it West Ham? I can't remember who the other one was, but we lost 3 games in a row by 3 goals. And it was that era that made me just think, nah, he's not getting it. And I'll be honest, mate, what makes it even worse than the football that we play is listening to him in press conferences and doing interviews. That just rubs salt in the wound for me. So, Forest, yes, thank you, Forest. Yeah, that run of games, and I came back then. I was away during the October international break, came home, was lucky enough to be able to go to the Manchester United game, and I was thinking, right, we've come into this international break on the back of 3 losses. Surely we're going to be focused and ready to go home against United. And then 62 seconds in, Brian Mbeumo puts the ball in the back of the net. We go on to lose 2-1. Yeah, that was it for me. There was really no turning it around from there. Now, I've always been honest and said I was open to a turning around, but I've not seen anything to suggest that it really is. I really haven't. Did you guys see Dominic Szoboszlai showing up with his lovely handbag today? Am I missing something here, lads? I didn't get the memo. Is this where the world of fashion is going to now? Are players showing up on international duty, getting out of a beautiful Lambo, by the way? I mean, we can talk about that car. It's beautiful. But story with the handbag. It's a bit weird. It's bad when the wife's asking you, where'd you get that bag? And I said to her straight away, not even answering, not knowing what bag it was, we can't afford it, love. That's all you need to know. I feel like Jerome. How are we, sir? Said, I wish the Liverpool squad had a work rate like Craig and Connor. So do I. I wish the manager, not even the squad, just the manager. Because I said this multiple times, I feel like Jerome. If my company, let's say, was in the shits right now, I wouldn't be going away tomorrow. I'd cancel it and I'd stay here and fix it. Much like I've done previously when I cancelled our trip to Turkey because of issues, stayed later and then went over to Lanzarote a few days later and after we'd sorted the things we needed to sort. So I can't even comprehend how he can just head off. It isn't a break for him. Maybe it's written in his contract, I don't know, but I find it very unpalatable that our head coach is not around at the minute. Yes, the players are on international duty, but there's still a lot you can be sorting out. He should be at the exit, in my opinion, and he should be working with the coaches. He should be looking at the underage players, and he should be trying to figure out the mess that we're in. Jaden said, I believe in us, Craig, for the Champions League and the FA Cup. 100% faith. Good man. I don't. I wish I did do, but I don't. Look, it'd be a lovely, pleasant surprise if we come back from this international break and beat Manchester City. I just don't think it's going to happen. Especially with them now having won, the cup. That's a bit of pressure off Guardiola. So whatever happens for him this season, they've got a trophy. I'm not expecting much in that game, mate, but I'd love to be pleasantly surprised. I feel like Jerome said, enjoy the holiday, big man. Thank you. And I hope the players come back determined to finish strong. So this is my final splurge, Jerome. I feel like, Jerome, this is my final splurge before I start the weight loss injections and stuff and, try to clean my life up a little bit from a health perspective, try to just look after myself a bit as I get older. So this is the last splurge. So yeah, I'm looking forward to it. Although I do hate airports. I'm always a bag of nerves going through airports. I don't know what it is about them. It just, I don't mind flying. No problem being on a plane, but I just don't like airports. See, United and Arsenal have lots of players missing out. Yeah, I did notice that, Paul. Both Arsenal centre-backs, Gabriel and Saliba, both ruled out of international duty. Coincidence? No. But you know what? I'm not going to hate on them for it. I wish our club pulled some shenanigans like that. Truly. I never mind these things when Fergie used to do it as well a lot of the time. And fair play if they can get away with it. Fair play to them. But yeah, it's unfortunate for us. Now, of course, the situations are probably a bit different because South American sides have already qualified for World Cups, and some of the players in international duty now from our side that aren't going over to South America are playing in World Cup playoffs and stuff like that. So the point when I knew it wasn't the right fit for Liverpool manager was when the youth game was set up to specifically show slot the players. They didn't bother showing up. Yeah, I believe Benz, if my memory's right, wrote that article. Ben Spolchak wrote the piece. Maybe it was Sam Maguire. It was one of the gents from Anfield Watch anyway. They wrote that piece to say that, yeah, they put on that showcase of talent and other coaches went down, but, Arne didn't. Don't know what to say to that, mate, but it's not great, is it? No, Craig, you see, you don't understand. We all need to go down their knees and kiss the ground Slot's walking on. Yeah. I don't know what to say, dude. It's I was just before I came on, my uncle rang me, and he's over in Spain at the minute on holidays. But he was speaking to a guy in a restaurant over there that runs the restaurant, and the guy loves the channel. So he rang me just before I went live, and I was talking to him for a second, saying hello to the guy that likes the channel and stuff. But he even said to me on the phone, all the way over from Spain, not my uncle, because he's a United fan, but the gent he was talking to said, I wake up in the morning, I look at my phone, hoping he's gone. That's just the feeling everybody has at the minute. Like, they're just looking at their phones, waiting, hoping. But I feel like we're going to be disappointed. Now, I said something to you guys last week, sort of joking, but today I'm deadly serious. Twice today, I've seen former Liverpool players come out again to say Arne Slot shouldn't be fired. And I just don't get it. I don't know if the club are briefing these guys. I doubt it, but Brad Friedel, Mark Gonzalez, both coming out talking about the fact that the manager shouldn't be fired. Why? Because I've not heard a valid reason from any of them outside of he won the league last year and football can be ups and downs. Fair enough, but we look like dog shit. We play like dog shit. We're unfit. We're covering very little distance. Now, there is an interesting stat that shows that, yes, we've been outrun 27 times from 31 games this season, but one season under Jurgen, apparently we were outrun 26 times. But I would argue that that's because we were making the opponent do more work off the ball, whereas with Arne, we're just moving the ball side to side, and it just doesn't look great at all. And if you look at the data that Sky have, and you can see this on the Sky Sports app, Liverpool's Premier League ranking for distance covered since Jurgen Klopp's arrival at the club, it's gone downhill rapidly this season. We're like ranked second or third to bottom of the Premier League for distance covered right now. And that's not us. That's not our identity. Under Jurgen, we were ranked right up at the top. And then, yes, we hovered a little bit below that. But you can see the graph going downwards as seasons have gone on, and certainly under Arne's tenure. Cal, how are you, sir? Evening, buddy. All these journos saying Arne is going to last until the summer. Can you debate the rationale of why they're waiting? Yeah, certainly. The only thing, Cal, that I can think of is that by the club's own, what's the word I'm looking for here, calculations, they deem it more risky to remove Arne now and bring in somebody they would deem as untested or untried in this environment. So they think that better the devil you know kind of attitude. That any change now would be upheaval and it would be risky. My argument has always been, well, is it not risky now? Because this manager, the one that we've had, the one that's been here 2 years, he's the one that has us currently sitting just about in the Champions League qualification places. He's the one that has us playing dire, terrible football. So how is it more of a risk to get rid of the failing guy and bring in somebody else? Now, there is, of course, going to be a risk to it. But what's the upside of keeping Arne? You scrape into the Champions League. Because we're not winning it, let's be honest, we're not. So I don't get it myself, mate. And I think, they use United to ridicule in this instance a lot of the time by saying, not the club, I just mean people writing about it, to say that isn't the path forward. That Liverpool spent, a long time, 6 months, and had a 60-page dossier on Slot, right? And 60 pages of what? Because whatever they looked at, whatever they researched, we're not seeing it now. So I don't get it, Cal, and I've never understood it. But it seems like at our club, things have to hit rock bottom before they make change. And not just with regards to the coaching staff. even when we need players. They don't. They roll the dice. They've done it again this season. We needed a centre-back badly. January market was there. We did nothing. Sat on our hands. How's that the smart play? Is that giving the coach that you apparently believe in the best opportunity for success? Not having another body at centre-back? We've had to go through the second half of the season praying that Canade and Virgil didn't pick up an injury. And that's before we talk about Canade's mixed form this season and the uncertainty over his future. Like, all of these things are uncertainties around the club that some people just don't want to admit is a problem. Any uncertainty is a problem. Continuity is important. So I don't understand it. And you could say, yeah, Craig, continuity is important, but you want to sack the coach. Yes, I do. I want to sack the coach because he's clearly failing. And we can't go in there and sack the whole dressing room. It's mad because I was watching Alan Shearer comment on Newcastle's performance against Sunderland. And he came out and said that it was a pathetic second half. I'd love to see more of that from our former players because they're all apparently just on board the good ship, aren't they? I don't fucking get it. I don't get it one bit, mate. It just does my head in that we're still talking about this all this time later when he's clearly failed. Slot won't shed a tear when he's fired. No passion. Look, I think Slot cares professionally about what he's doing at Liverpool, but I don't feel like he's caught the Liverpool bug, do you? You know, Jurgen bought into it. Rafa bought into it and fell in love with the city. I'm not feeling the same with Arna. And if it's true that he's living in Manchester, I find that a bit weird as well. You know, maybe he wants to stay outside the city and, you know, have his own bit of peace and quiet or whatever. Fair enough. Just none of it feels right. None of it feels like he's tried to connect, if that makes any sense. Look, I am really critical on these things, and I do hold Liverpool's coach and certain players to maybe a higher standard than others. But, you know, we know what has made our club work over the years. You look to all the successful managers. Most of them had good relations with the fans. Most of them understood how important it was to harness the energy inside Anfield and went out of their way to do it. Now, once Arna has asked for Anfield to act, and it did. You've seen it against Galatasaray. Every time they were on the ball, jeers, whistles, boos, making sure that it was a hostile environment. One night in his whole Liverpool career, he's harnessed that energy of Anfield. Once. Gonna miss these lives most of the break, Craig. Yeah, I always feel a bit guilty when I go away for the week. I'm not gonna lie, mate, I do. For two reasons. One, obviously we're a company and I have to make sure everybody's wages can be paid for and stuff like that. So that always weighs heavy on me as well. But, you know, it does help me a lot these days that Connor's able, or not able, he's always been able to do, but that Connor's enthusiastically doing the videos that he's doing. That helps me out a lot. So the fact that Connor will be able to keep the news updates ticking over for everybody, I really do appreciate Connor being able to do that. Joseph, how are you, mate? Said, Craig, when it comes to the Gordon rumours, I respectfully disagree with your view. If you watch him, and honestly, he's honestly average at best, and only ever had one good spell in a couple of seasons ago. That's absolutely fine, Joseph, mate. And I do understand that when I talk so positively about Anthony Gordon, that some people see it a bit differently. No problem with that. And I can understand your point of view. Maybe I'm wrong on this one, but, you know, I've always felt like Anthony Gordon is a passionate fella, right? You watch him celebrating scoring at Newcastle. I often feel like if he comes to Liverpool, he'll have an attitude of, I want to prove you wrong. Because Liverpool let him go as a teenager or as a kid. And he went on to Everton and then, of course, ended up moving to Newcastle eventually. But he wants to play for our club. He supports our club. I truly feel like he would give everything to be successful. And I also think that with better players in and around him, no disrespect to Newcastle, who have some good players, but when the standard goes up again, I think you'll see him rise to that challenge. So, like I said, I understand your side of it as well, and you're not the first, mate, you won't be the last, and I'm not saying I'm right on it. I'm just saying I could understand the move if it happened. And he does have that lightning pace. And he's also a bit snide, and I love that. I think we need a bit more snidiness in the team. I'm massively concerned, mate, because FSG have acknowledged that they've given huge power to Edwards, but have also annoyed him. Who's running the club? So Edwards does have a lot of power. You're right. Not so much Hughes. Hughes has come in as a sporting director, but Edwards has a lot. But I don't know what the situation is behind the scenes. I don't know if Hughes and Edwards or both are potentially going to depart for pastures new. I don't know how FSG feel about it because we don't hear from them. And this is what I keep saying. We don't hear anything from anybody at the club until they want to brief Ornstein and other journalists, you know, and then Hughes and Edwards can suddenly find a way to communicate, but nothing. Not even any acknowledgement of the fans and the feeling and the unrest. It's, yeah, it really feels like at times our opinion doesn't matter. Certainly, our opinion with regards to not being season ticket holders and not being at Anfield every week, it really feels like we really don't matter. And the denying of the obvious, which is that he's lost the fan base, is quite absurd. No matter how many former players or pundits or journalists they want to brief and try to get on side, fans aren't going to be fooled. The brand of football is diabolical. So my big fear is that somehow they keep him on a job at the end of this season. That is honestly the thing that concerns me the most, because scraping into the Champions League isn't worth celebrating. It's beyond the bare minimum. Craig, do you remember the first Liverpool game you watched? Yeah, it was the Arsenal game. The 2-0 defeat that won Arsenal the league title. That was my first one. That I watched on TV, I should say. The first one I went to... I get confused with myself on this one because I went to 2 games in a relatively short space of time. One of them was the last game with the old Kop, and the other one was against Ipswich Town, if my memory... It was Ipswich Town or Oldham. I was 9, I think, at the time. Or maybe I was a bit older. I can't remember the exact age I was. But yeah, they were my first games. One was with my football club. They went over and we went to Tranmere Rovers. We watched one of their games at Prenton Park. We went to Anfield. But I can't remember exactly what age I was at the time. What's this one? Jurgen Klopp, by the way, on the Real Madrid speculation, had something else to say. He also said, when is a story a story? When someone takes a sheet of paper and writes something on it, or when there's actually something to it? Has Real Madrid ever called me? Not once. Not a single time in my managerial career. I'll take over Atletico Madrid as well, preferably at the same time. Sorry, Madrid, you'll have to ring first. So, again, Kloppo, seemingly no interest in returning to management, or at least for Madrid. And then he said, how long has this been going on for? Come on, guys. You have to ask yourselves really at this point. You and your colleagues are writing nonsense. Somebody wrote about leaving Red Bull and not being at enough games training sessions, and it's nonsense. I think Oliver has said something already, but now you're hearing it from me. There's nothing there. So I think we can safely put to bed the rumours of Klopp going to Madrid. And like I've always said, Atleti I could have seen him at, but Real Madrid, not a Jurgen Klopp club. Not a Jurgen Klopp move. Right, so let's talk about the Mohamed Salah stuff, because this is, again, we spoke about a former player talking about not sacking Arna. Well, Mark Gonzalez believes, this is his words, I'll read it out for you. For Salah, with his performances lately, something clearly happened with Slot a few months ago. Remember, he wanted to leave and he wasn't in games. I know there are many things that happen when you have problems with the coach. That affects your performance, and we don't know what's happening behind the doors. A lot is going on with the environment, and there is pressure. This kind of situation affects performances. So he believes that Mohamed Salah is unhappy at Liverpool, under Arna, being the key word, under Arna, or words, I should say. So how much of Mohamed Salah's poor form this season, or is poor form even fair? Poorer form this season is down to that relationship with the manager. Because I do find this one difficult, because if you go back the season before, Rami Abbas, I believe, and Mohamed Salah were both praising of Arna and him coming in. Then the next season, the wheels start to fall off, and that relationship seemingly took a bit of a nosedive. Now, of course, then Salah went off to the AFCON. There was a bit of a break there. He came back, and when he came back, Liverpool results were starting to move in the right direction a bit more, and it quietened down. but I never felt like it was sorted. And still, when you look at Salah now, it doesn't feel like he's happy working under Arne. So I guess the question or the root of this problem is going to be, are we going to lose Salah in the summer because he's unhappy at what happened with Arne? Or are we going to lose Salah because he wants a move away? Or, of course, maybe he stays. But at this moment in time, I definitely feel like there's a divide in that dressing room between players who believe in the manager's methods and players who don't. Not really sure if Anfield Index has a good rep. They do. I started. I know the guys at Anfield Index really well. I speak with one of the owners of it regularly, and actually, I speak with two of the owners quite regularly, and they're a really good outfit. They're very professional. Like everybody else, we all have opinions, and sometimes my views and their views mightn't align fully, but I've nothing but respect for them. I would class them as probably my only real friends, if you want to use that word. Oh, friends in the Liverpool content world. So, yeah, I would certainly rate them very highly. Anyway, let me read your comment. So you said, not really sure if Anfield Index is a good rep, but they seem to have the view that Edwards will leave in summer as no club looking for FSG, that Hughes will get the sack in the summer. So, yes, they broke a story, I think, last week, if my memory's right, to say that there have been at least communications between Hughes and the Al Halal entourage, if you want to say that. And look, they're very well placed. I will say that. I would say they would definitely not be making things up. I would never, ever label that at Anfield Index. They're very professional. And yeah, I would say they have certainly, if they write something, it's genuine that they've been told it. I wouldn't say they're in any way making that up. But again, you have to caveat this with everything. Everything we all hear has to be questioned. Sometimes you hear things because maybe you feel you're being tested with something. Other times you hear things and you think this is just bullshit. And then sometimes you hear things and it's something you've already heard elsewhere and it starts to back itself up a little bit. And when you look into it, there's a bit more credibility to it. And they're decisions that everybody has to make. Like if I was to come on here and actually say everything we get told, I'd be in a lot of trouble, because you have to treat everything with certainly skepticism at first and then work your way backwards from there. And there's definitely been times where we've been tested, not by the club, but people say stuff to you, send stuff to you, hoping that you go with it so you can look foolish. But when you do your research on it, there's nothing to it. Ninja Tales, how are you, mate? Said Craig, conspiracy theory, Ali isn't really injured. It's come when the Georgie story came out about playing time and the club want to keep him happy. I don't know, but I know I want Alisson and goal over Georgie at this moment in time if they're both available. It is a difficult one, because if Alisson stays for the other year, because we've triggered that extension, how are you going to balance Georgie next year? How are you going to give him more game time? It is a difficult one, and I do have some sympathy for the club on that one, but, they made the decision to bring Georgie Mamardashvili in when they did, so it's up to them to have the plan and the pathway through for him. Goalkeeper's a really tough position, because, you want to get one chance, as in, if the keeper's injured, you're in. But if you're an outfield player, maybe you can join into the squad, get some minutes in other positions or cover. But with a goalkeeper, it can be very mentally tough. Training, and then limited opportunities. Then, if you're Georgie, and I've said this before, by the way, and I don't agree with Arne saying it out loud, if you're Georgie and you come in and Alisson's injured and you get an opportunity, it doesn't help when the manager's saying that Alisson's number one as soon as he walks straight back through the door. What if Georgie came in and had 5 games that were out of this world, unbelievable, and showed that he was in incredible form? Is it then fair again to just go, well, see you, mate, back on the bench with you? I've always said to you guys, in any position, I'm a big believer in, if you take your opportunity, that shirt's yours until proven otherwise. I've always said that, because if not, it's unfair. If you're genuinely saying to these lads, work your arses off in training, show me what you can do, then you get your opportunity. You take that opportunity. If you're not then rewarded with the next game, what the fuck's the point? And it must be very, very difficult mentally, especially for a goalkeeper. in these situations. So I don't envy the situation the club have there with the keepers, but it's a situation all of our own making. I'll never understand why they didn't put a buyback clause in Kelleher's contract. Never. I'll never understand why they didn't just try to find a way with Creeveen to give him more games. Because I think he's had 8 clean sheets this season in the Prem with Brentford, shown that he's more than good enough at this level. Yeah, it's a weird one, that whole goalkeeper situation, because we'll all agree Alisson's amazing. I love him. He's the best goalkeeper of my lifetime at Liverpool. But you do have to strike a balance. So for me, the 2 domestic cups, particularly when he went out of one on purpose. I know that's a big claim, but I'm standing over it. You don't send out the team you sent out in the League Cup and think it's going to win with a straight face, especially with such a weak bench. So when you've purposely tanked one tournament and then you don't give them enough, like every game in the FA Cup, I think then, yeah, you're creating the situation where maybe the goalkeeper's getting itchy feet a bit. Your 5 favourite Liverpool players from the 90s. Oh, Fowler, Barnes. I mean, I'm going back here trying to remember who was around in the 90s. Fowler, Barnes, Rush, Mulby. Can't remember what we signed Hippier. So throw Hippier in there if he was in the 90s. I can't remember. I also really liked Razor Ruddock. Even though he wasn't the greatest footballer in the world, I liked Ruddock as a character. McManaman. I don't know. I always appreciated Steve McManaman's ability. Always, he was an incredible footballer. He was one of those guys I never was able to really take to. But that's a personal preference thing. That's nothing to do with his ability. He's a very good footballer back in his day. Fabrizio post. Is it another one shilling for a regime, or is this a football post? I still can't believe he did that, by the way. I've already had no respect for the man, but that was the last straw. That was an embarrassment beyond embarrassment, that post. I can't believe he did it. Hippie joined in 99. Can I squeeze him in then? Can I take it at 99? Do you remember the white suits? Oh, I do, yes. I think that was down to David James, if I remember correctly. I think David James had a deal with Armani, and the suits came from that or something, if I'm not mistaken. Oh, the Fabrizio post is just a repeat of the Klopp comments. I do find it mad so many people hang on Romano's every word, by the way. Um, I've been quite outspoken on this, but I don't like Romano one bit. I don't see what good he does for the football world. I don't like him one bit personally. What post do I mean? The one where he was talking about Saudi Arabia's humanitarian work as a sponsored paid post. It's just tone deaf. And then he goes and threatens to sue people apparently as well who write negative articles about him. Look, in a world of greasy, shady football, he's right there. So I just have no time for him personally. I'm not saying he's not well connected. I'm not saying he hasn't got stories that are on the mark, but I just view him as another vehicle to push a narrative that certain clubs and players want. I don't have time for it. Sporting Intel did a really good piece on Romano that is certainly worth your time if you have a chance to look at it. Next season's Community Shield's been played at the Principality. Yes, I'd seen that actually earlier on. I love the Principality. We had a great time as a club when Wembley was being rebuilt, where he seemed to be playing in pretty much every final. The Principality. So yes, I have seen that. Unless we beat Man City in the FA Cup, though, we ain't going to be there. Joseph said, to be fair, well, I don't like Romano. When he's saying something, we believe it. He's very good at his job. again, I got to be careful about what I say here, but the post about a footballer who sadly passed away, that he was posted claiming he was still alive. Sorry, that's you lost all credibility with me after that. Because apparently the family of the gentleman felt hope at that point. You can't do things like that without categorical proof when something is that serious. So yes, he gets stuff right. Yes, he's in the loop. But there is another side that maybe some people naively don't understand. That's the most I can say. Because unlike a lot of these others that he's apparently suing, I don't have the means to throw hundreds of thousands at a legal situation. So, yeah, I'll let others do that. Others who have better solicitors than I do. Glad it's the international break and we can start to enjoy the next 2 weeks apart from the stress of moving into a new house. Oh, I don't envy that stress, dude. That's yeah, that's that. When they say that's the most stressful thing you can do, I don't think they're wrong. It's yeah. I went through a period in 10 years where I think I moved 6 times, and now I've been settled here for 14, 15 years, and yeah, I'm very glad I don't have to move. It's very flippin' weak, sick of this crap. I don't watch enjoying our games anymore, and we will get humiliated by United when we play them. So out. Yeah, look, I'm dreading after the international break. 2 games against PSG, Manchester City when we come back, a Merseyside derby at the Hill Dickinson as well. Everton after wiping the floor with Chelsea. It's going to be tough. And actually, on that, I was looking at Chelsea's fixtures, as I said to you guys yesterday. And I know our run in is difficult, but these are Chelsea's matches that they have coming up. So they've got Port Vale in the FA Cup. Then they go to Manchester City. Then they've got then they are home to Manchester City. Then they're home to Manchester United. Away against Brighton. A home against Forest. Then they've got us at Anfield. Then they've got a London derby against Spurs. Then they travel to take on Sunderland at the Stadium of Light. So they've got a couple of games in there with Forest and Spurs where they're taking on relegation candidates. Then they've got United and City, us. They have a tough run as well. So that is why I'm quietly confident we just about scrape into the top 5 because of how poor Chelsea are and how difficult that run in is. If they had a handier run of games, we'd be screwed. I think that is what is probably going to be a saving grace with the Champions League is that we'll scrape in just because of Chelsea's run and the fact that they're more inconsistent than we are. Benny, how are you, dude? Said, greetings from Brooklyn. I found your channel halfway through last season. I wish I found you sooner. Whenever you say, what is up, my friends, it brings a smile to my face. Do you know what, Benny? I don't even know how that started. I think I'm a creature of habit. So I think I probably must have said it at the start a couple of times and then it just became autopilot. It wasn't a conscious decision, but yeah, it is. Some people hate it. Some people like it. I just do it because it's autopilot mode at the start of a stream when I'm trying to ease myself in. And it's difficult enough doing live content. So if you can have these small little routines, I find it helps me anyway. But appreciate you, man. I'm glad you found us as well. Thank you. What's my favourite away stadium in the Prem? I always really enjoy the games against Newcastle. Now, I've not had the pleasure of being to any away stadium other than Spurs one. And that wasn't even for a Liverpool game. But yeah, I always enjoy the games at St James's Park. They're always entertaining games. They're always passion-filled games. And our record up there has been quite good. Joseph, how are you, mate? Said Craig, a bit off topic, but if you had to rank these Oasis songs from worst to best, how would you do it? A master plan, slide away, cigarettes and alcohol, live forever. So from worst to best, so cigarettes and alcohol, worst, slide away, master plan, live forever, in that order. But they're all good songs. There is no worst there, but yeah, in order of my worst favourite to most favourite, or least favourite to most favourite, cigarettes and alcohol, slide away, Master Plan, Then Live Forever. But I really like three of those songs in particular. Cigarettes and Alcohol, I'm kind of a bit blasé on. But Slide Away is one of my favourite B-sides. I absolutely love Slide Away. I like What Is Up, My Friends, and it would make a great T-shirt. I don't know. Look, it's never going to change. That's going to be my intro all the time now. But I don't know how it started. I really don't. I've often tried to remember it, but no idea. You have to have a few little phrases that are your own. George said, "Have a great break, Craig. I hope you and your family have a fantastic time. P.S. Slot out, please, ASAP." Thank you, mate. Appreciate that. Yeah, it should be fun. I'm looking forward to it. Silver Bear said, "I'm dreading the Paris Saint-Germain games, but on the positive side, if we get through, it would mean having played the best games of our season and a real confidence booster to get to a Champions League final." Well, it would be great. Oh, God, don't get me wrong. Yes, and it would be a real feather in the manager's cap and in the player's cap. But then you've got a Real Madrid or Bayern Munich, two-legger with the second leg being away from home. So that would also be difficult. But like I've said, whoever makes it through the left side of the draw to the final will have absolutely earned the right. I don't get much to any football stadium, but when I do, it's a blast. Never been to Anfield personally, would love to, obviously, but it's too hard to get into. Yeah, it's getting more and more difficult, of course, to get tickets to go and see the Reds, especially for a reasonable cost. The Spurs Stadium is incredible. I've been there for a football event and I've been there for a boxing event and love both of them. But one stadium that stands out to me that I went to a boxing event in was Headingley. And it was class because the grandstand was split between the cricket pavilion and the rugby league ground. And it was brilliant. We went to see Josh Warrington fight there. And it was really nice. I had a really good time and definitely recommend it to anybody if there's any other events on a Headingley. It was class. Yes, but Salah has beaten Madrid twice. That's fair enough. No argument on that one, mate. But I think you'd probably agree with me that Madrid aren't very good, right? They just aren't at the moment. And certainly when we played them, they were all over the shop. So it doesn't really mean anything. Um, and beating them at home twice. We should point that out as well. We haven't gone over there and beaten them. Because I'm fairly certain we'll go out to PSG, I then want PSG versus Arsenal in the final and Arsenal to get pumped. I have a feeling it'll be Bayern Munich, personally, just a guess, of course, but I think Bayern Munich will come through our side. They beat City 4-1 though. Yeah, they did. But again, remember the timings. We played them earlier on in the season. Then they went and played. And look, to be honest, everybody was surprised they beat City 4-1 in that result because they were missing Mbappe and Bellingham, I think a few others for that game, when memory's right. Cyclone said, "Yes, I've been to the Spurs Stadium. Amazing. Got in for free, which was class. But I do go sometimes to the Kassam, where I share ties with Oxford United. Nice. Yeah, Spurs Gaff's amazing. We went there. I think I told you this before. We were in London for an event once, and we had a spare night, and we were kind of just flicking through, seeing anything we can go out and do. It was myself and Connor were over, and we seen that Spurs had an FA Cup replay against Middlesbrough, and I think the tickets were like 25 quid, something like that. So we just said, "Feck it, we'll go down and have a look." It was brilliant. Really, really nice stadium. Craig, is it true of a meeting on Tuesday with Liverpool's hierarchy to discuss crisis? Not that I'm aware of, but again, that doesn't mean anything. Yeah, look, it depends who said it if you want to put credibility to it, but all I can say to you is I don't personally know of anything now. Ben said I went to Spurs Stadium for a concert. Very nice. Yeah, it is class. We went for an AJ fight and we went for the Spurs FA Cup game, and it was brilliant. The atmosphere, it made a great spot for boxing. It really, really did. Like the atmosphere in there for the AJ fight. It was actually the fight where Usyk beat AJ to win the world title for the first time as a heavyweight. It was incredible. Really, really, really nice place. And great for boxing. Joseph Purvis said, Craig, just want to say thanks for the therapeutic nature of your streams. Been helping me cope with the stress of exams. My pleasure. I often wonder should I cut back more on some of the personal stuff and just stick to Liverpool, because some people like the tone of the channel. Some people don't like that it's not just about Liverpool. But the way I try to think about it is the watch-alongs and stuff like that, that's all obviously just focused on Liverpool. But the nightly streams are something that I've always thought of as the thank you to the people who are here every night. You know, a way for us to get to know each other. So we make sure that we do the little videos. That gives you all the football content and bite-sized stuff. But I love having a chat about vague, random things when we're on here. And I love hearing stories, sharing stories. So I try to mix it up, but I understand some people want to just come in for football. And it's the thing, excuse me, it's the thing I struggled most with when we did our live shows. I didn't know what way to set the live shows up. I didn't know whether people wanted me to come on and just talk about Liverpool, the stage shows, I mean, or whether we were to go on and talk about a bit of everything. So I still struggle with that, to be honest with you, because you can't please everybody, but I want to. I want to try because, you know, I get a lot of personal growth from being on here, as in what I mean by that is as a human being. Right, let me get settled back in. Keep being you. You're the best for a reason. Well, thank you. It just feels natural to do it this way to me. I think it helped, Keen, that when I came in to start doing content, I hadn't got much of a background of watching football content on YouTube. So I just did what came natural to me, which was seek out conversations. And that's how we built the foundations of the channel, was just that 3-4 hour streams at night, just chatting with people. And then it built bit by bit. And it just became a natural thing. And I don't want to change it. I love it. I remember when Drawdy came in to start working with us, we were going through all of Anfield Agenda's content and trying to make sure it was as good as it could be. And I remember the conversation with Ben where he said, your nightly stream should be no more than an hour. And I disagreed. And he was probably right in one sense, but people would often say to me, even a podcast should be 45 minutes. But then I look at Joe Rogan and I think, well, he's making long form content that people seem to have the attention span for. So let's keep doing what we're doing. And I don't think I'll ever change it. I think if I was to do an hour-long stream, I wouldn't feel like I've covered enough or interacted enough. You know what, Craig? You're now my cousin because I love you so much. I'll take that, Nats. I'll take that. Pleasure. Right, let's get talking with more footy news. Let me get into... What's this? Right, so there was a piece I was reading earlier on, and it said, but as one former Liverpool player put in a Premier League press room over the weekend, this was on Sky Sports, by the way, Slot made the mistake of alluding to the dreaded T word. If you tell footballers they're entitled to feel tired, then it can become a self-fulfilling prophecy. There is some suggestion that Liverpool have been trying to manage their workload all season and that this has impacted the team's tactics. Certainly the pressing game of old has gone. For fans, a side once famed for its intensity has become unrecognisable. Slot favours a slower, more controlled possession game. Then he bemoans Liverpool's inability to break down defences. He laments the rising importance of set pieces, but then sees Thomas Grontmark, their former throwing coach, working with leaders Arsenal. The win over Galatasaray was a reminder what this team are at their best when they play at a higher tempo, channeling the Liverpool of old. Their inability or unwillingness to do this under Slot, physically, mentally and tactically, has been a problem for them all season. Spot on. I think it was Adam Bate, if I'm not mistaken, that did that bit of analysis for Sky. Spot on. It's exactly it. It isn't hard to understand, which is why it makes it so unfathomable to many of us why we change the way we play. It's clear when we're at our best. You know, everybody, whether you support Liverpool or not, knows what our identity is and how we were at our best. And he isn't able to harness that. And he hasn't been able to get back to it all season. So at the end of last season, I bemoaned the fact that we switched off. I was complaining that we won the league, but so what? Standards still have to be maintained. And I went out of my way to say you can't just switch it on and off. That's not how it works. If something is the standard, you can't let it slip. Every training session, every game has to be the same. And if it isn't, there's a fucking problem. And that he got away with that last year because we won the league. He got away with the League Cup final. He got away with the Paris Saint-Germain fiasco over 2 legs where he was fawning over them. So again, I don't like letting standards slip. There's a time for relaxation, and that's at the end of the season. When you've got your holidays, earned your right, same as everybody else, enjoy yourself, be with your family, do what you need to do, blow off steam, and come back and then be ready for the new season. Would you ever do a Liverpool career mode on FC? I did some FIFA streaming for a little while. I did a little series of FIFA streaming, which was fun and funny, but in a different way. It was funny because I was so bad, and it was funny because my fat fingers kept hitting the wrong buttons. But I enjoyed the part where I was doing the negotiating for the players and stuff. I tried to put my own little twist on it, but I don't know. You never say never. Never say never, but it's not on the agenda for the future anyway. The 5 DBs said, our training and fitness has declined under Slot and is clueless on how to fix it. So it is intentional, though. It's important we point that out. It's intentional that we have as much rest and time off. I don't think it's right, but it isn't an accident. It's planned this way. But I'm on your side. I agree with you 100%. We don't look capable of it. And I don't know, maybe I'm old school, but I keep talking to you about wanting more snidiness out there, wanting more dark arts from our players. And, you know, when I looked at Dominic Szoboszlai showing up today for the national team squad with Hungary, I can't deny Dom's brilliance as a footballer, nor do I want to. I love him on the pitch. But I'm not going to shit myself at the idea of a fella turning up getting over Lambo with a handbag. You know, if I'm an opposition player looking at that, I'm thinking, okay. I don't know. Sometimes I think these guys just need to remember they're footballers and it's a physical sport and get out there and put the fear of God into people. Like Jimmy Milner was. I'm not saying to be dirty, but look at Jimmy Milner when we played Brighton. You know, just on the right side of aggressive. That's what I want. And that's why we all love Jimmy Milner so much. You know, my favourite brief moment of that Barcelona game was the end of it, where Jimmy Milner was on the pitch, winning free kicks, running the clock down, frustrating people, but being a model pro. That's what we miss. And like I said, I don't, it might be just my generation, I don't know, but it feels like, much like the manager, everybody's great when things are going well. And, you know, everybody's telling them all how great they are, and the brand deals are rolling in, and the money's flying in, and everybody's telling you how great you are. But they seem a little bit lost now when things have gone against us, and they can't wrestle it back. And that's worrying. That is worrying. Because we're looking around thinking, how have they let it get to this? You know, because they keep coming out in post-match interviews saying all the things that they want to happen. But again, how do you play like that on Wednesday and then play like that on Saturday? Same people, same players. So why were you able to do it on Wednesday and you're not able to do it on Saturday against Brighton? You know, so there's so much that, yes, the manager's a fault for, but we can't just wash our hands of the player's responsibility either. Hey Craig, just arrived. True slot jetted to Ibiza. No idea. All I know is the post from the guy that said he met him at Manchester Airport and he was going on a flight to Amsterdam. That's all I know. I presume he was going back to spend time with his family. I don't know what happened after that, mate. Yeah. Do we have a Discord, Craig? Would love to join. We do. We do. Keen and the mods take care of who gets in and out of it. I pop in occasionally, but yeah, we do have a Discord. But we used to open it up to anyone who was a member, and then what we found was there were people who were coming in, stirring shit, trying to cause problems, copying and pasting things, taking screenshots of communications with people, then trying to stir the pot elsewhere. So we kind of pared it back a little bit. Right, let's keep going with the news though. Jayden Danns. Confirmation from This Is Anfield that Jayden Danns has suffered a minor hamstring problem and will miss the next 3 to 4 weeks as a precaution. Do hope, of course, Danns can get back fit. Be interesting to see with a full pre-season how much first team action he'd get next year, or perhaps would he go out on loan. Right, we've about an hour to go on tonight's stream, so do keep your thoughts coming in. Let's have a look at this poll. Wow, look at this one. It's 50-50. The question was, would you be happy if Liverpool signed Ronald Araujo from Barcelona, as per the report today? 50-50 right now. So we'll see if we can split it at 2,000 votes. We've about 300 short. If you haven't voted, please do. This is really close. What manager would you bring in to see the season out from Houllier, Evans or Rodgers? None. None is the honest answer. Yeah, none. Agent Udon said, am I the only one who doesn't rate Virgil as a captain? Hendo used to chew out players for slipping standards. He was constantly driving the team forward. Virgil seems to moan. I go back and forth on this one, mate. You know, the way I try to explain my thoughts are, I think when you have a passive coach and a passive captain, it doesn't translate into aggression on the pitch. Now, Arna talks about Virgil being vocal a lot and being loud a lot, but like you, I don't think he's aggressive enough. And I don't think you can have a captain that's like that and a coach that's like that and expect the players on the pitch to be a representation of something different, if that makes sense. Like, teams are usually a reflection of a manager. And with Jurgen, that was up in your face, aggressive, full of energy and endeavour. He's on the sideline cheering and fist pumping tackles and clearances and blocks. So it's night and day. And I don't think it's a coincidence that the one game this season where we all talked about it all coming together was Galatasaray, and Arna was like a lunatic on the sideline, and the atmosphere inside Anfield was, you know, an aggressive in the right manner type of atmosphere. Can someone mention how good this Barca player that's been mentioned is, and where does he play in the park? He's a centre-back, mate, a centre-back. 25 years of age, centre-back at Barcelona, Uruguayan international as well. But I agree on Hendo as well. Who was the gentleman I was speaking to a second ago? Agent Udon. I agree on Hendo. I've said this many, many, many times. I took real frustration at how Henderson left, but Jordan Henderson was an amazing captain for this football club in every sense of the word. He led by example. He took on all the responsibilities. He was in the referee's ears out there on the pitch. He was getting into players. I loved him as a captain. I really, I think he was, since Steven Gerrard, the best captain we've had. I thought he was brilliant. Dom, the real Zorro, too hairy for a handbag. I just don't get it, mate. It's probably a generational thing. But if my mate showed up to the pub with what I can only describe as a handbag, that would be the entertainment sorted for the night anyway. Let's just put it that way. But each to their own. I don't know. I'm not a fashionista, so Not really for me to say. I'm an Adidas man, a tracksuits and trainers kind of guy. Didn't Araujo have issues at Barca and had to take time off? Would he have the mentality to cope with the Premier League and Liverpool? Do you know, I'm going to be honest, Lynn, and say I don't really know if he had issues at Barcelona, because I used to be an avid watcher of both Liverpool and Barcelona. I've been open with you guys and said that a Barca shirt was the first ever football shirt I had. But during the whole Levers era, I lost a lot of respect for Barcelona. The way they treated the players, the way they were forcing people out, the way the wage cuts were going in. I didn't like it. I didn't feel that connection as much anymore. So now these days, I very rarely pay any attention to Barcelona. So I don't really know if Araujo had any issues there. Other than Rio, we have no pace. Anyone in mind? Yes, Yan Diamonde. I don't know if anybody else is like me on this, but I'm all in, fully invested on Yan Diamonde coming in. There was actually a post that somebody put in our Discord that was like the admin from the RB Leipzig account, and they were saying, sell us Yan Diamonde, and then they put googly eyes in the admin put googly eyes in. So, something and nothing, but yeah, he's somebody, mate, that I've really come on board with. The more I've watched clips of him, the more I've looked into his data, the more I'm not going to say I've seen a week in and week out, but I've seen enough to know he's a really, really good footballer that looks older in his footballing style than his 19 years on this planet. He looks so well rounded at 19. Still work to do, of course, as there will be with any 19-year-old, but yeah, I'd really like him coming in. I think he'd be a really astute piece of business. Yes, and Elise is a great option. Oh, mate, I'd love Elise. Elise has always been my dream Mohamed Salah replacement. It'd be incredible. Again, we're fighting, scrapping to get into the Champions League this season, and you're not going to be able to attract players like him without that. So, got to make sure we get that done. So, here's a question for you. Do you buy into... How do I phrase this? Do you buy into the Champions League qualification being the bare minimum requirement? Because I don't. I think it's required for the club, but I don't think it counts for anything. If that makes sense. Like, it's not a trophy. In a 20-team league, if we can't finish in the top 5, we've got bigger fucking problems. So I don't for 1 second think that qualifying for the Champions League is some type of achievement, because it certainly wasn't the goal at the start of the campaign. And the rewriting of history and the narrative of the summer is one that really has just gotten on my bad side over the past few months. I can't believe the amount of codology going on about, yeah, this is good, yeah, this is the bare minimum. No, it's not. It's only the bare minimum because of the financial element of it. That's it. For me, that should be a given for us now. Exactly, mate. 100%. I agree with you. And Ben said, I agree. No chance for me, said Trevor. The bare minimum for this season was a trophy. Exactly. A big trophy. So for me, even an FA Cup doesn't save him at this point. Because the goal was to try to defend the Premier League title. And we've done so poorly doing that. And I don't know if he doesn't get this, but when Jurgen won the Premier League and we had such a poor defence of it, it really frustrated us all. But it was Jurgen, so he had more than enough credit in the bank. But Arne Slot is not Jurgen. And to win the Premier League and then be so poor this year, it's just not acceptable. It's just not. We wanted a better title defence. Because what we had to put up with and listen to was everybody and their dog trying to undermine our Premier League title, saying it was the poorest league title, it was the poor league, blah, blah, blah. So I was so adamant that I wanted us to come back in this year and defend that league title properly. Not necessarily saying you have to win it, but give it a good go. We're now closer to the relegation places than we are to Arsenal. It's It's been a failure. And to try to justify it as anything but that, it's just pathetic from people who are supposed to be maintaining and withholding the standards at the football club. Like, what's the point in spending so long to climb that mountain? To build from the time with Jurgen all the way up, constant progression. Yes, there was an evolution as well. There was some shady times there, up and downs, but it was constantly building. Now it feels like we got there again, and we're quite happy to start sliding down the other side of that mountain. And there's no repercussion. There's no holding people to account. It's just, well, we'll wait till the end of the season and then we'll take account of it all. No, you can act now and save the season. But you're choosing not to. And we're the ones that are going to suffer the consequences of that as fans. Because we won't be able to reinvest in the team if we don't get Champions League as much as we would have wanted. We won't be as an attractive a proposition. You know, where's our era? We haven't had an era. We've had little bits of success dotted around Manchester City's shenanigans. This was supposed to be our time. Remember what we talked about last summer? That we asked, did FSG smell blood in the water? Did they think with Manchester City's charges still hanging over them, Pep Guardiola's time being uncertain there, that this was the time to strike and now build Liverpool into that next era of dominance? That was the conversation. That was the narrative. That was what was being discussed in every newspaper and every website, that Liverpool were building something for long-term sustained success. Where's that attitude gone? I'll tell you why it's not there. It's really clear why it's not there. Self-preservation. Simple. Hughes, Edwards, Slot. End of conversation. Anything else is just waffle and PR guff. Self-preservation and a lack of holding people to account. Performances aside, I don't like Slot for him passing the blame to everybody else, denying any involvement in things and throwing some of the players or ex-managers under the bus when it suits him. I'm the same. You know, it's just one excuse, one bullshit excuse after another, and even just denying the reality of the way we're playing. It's just not good enough. And I can't believe that people... Like, let's be honest about this. We all know if he doesn't win, or if he doesn't get into the Champions League, he's gone. So my argument is, let's say he missed out on the Champions League by 1 point. That's going to get him fired. But one more point, and he gets into the Champions League, and all of a sudden he's good enough. He's not good enough. The whole season has shown that. How many records this year have we broken for the wrong reasons? I can't remember any other manager, since Hodgson maybe, where we're here talking about records that we're breaking for the wrong reasons. And this is after the £450 million that he constantly cry-arses on about. And keeps saying, this club, we do things. People in England don't understand club sale. Yes, we do. But we also understand that you're a fucking spoofer. There's just no style of football for us. None. It's just pass the ball around, and Arna will then try to justify it somehow because we had 8% more possession. We had 20 shots, 4 on target. Like, it's just been a shit show this year. And I would rather a new coach comes in and a big change in personnel and to rebuild. At least we could buy into that. So if Alonso came in and they looked at the dressing room and thought, right, not good enough, let's be ruthless, I think fans would get behind that. But denying the obvious is just frustrating to the extreme. Then that's what I'm thinking. Then folks say, keep Slot till the end of the season. It's not right. Exactly. Nip it in the bud. Try to save something, salvage something from this season. Agent Udon said, would love to know what the board told Slot was the expectation for the season, especially after the outlay. Can't be anywhere near what they would have demanded, surely. 100% agree with that. 100%. We all know what the aim was. And look, the argument will be that he's still in the Champions League. But we're not going to win it. Like, we're not. And if we do win it and play like we did against Galatasaray, then we have big issues with these players. Because how are they not able to lift themselves for the other games then? You know, because the players can't be just washed free of this guilt. Their underperformances need to be called out as well. Too many players feeling sorry for themselves, too many players staying on the ground, not enough of them putting in real hard yards out there. And by the way, if I have to watch a Liverpool midfielder pussy out of another tackle, I think I'm going to lose my mind. And I've not mentioned it as much as I wanted to because of respect for the players, but it's getting to the point now where I'm getting fed up of it. You know, and I'm sure I'm not alone in noticing there's been a lot of 50-50s that have been half-arsed. Simon, how are you? Simon Jackman said, do you think it's possible that they won't sack him until the summer to save money? I mean, I guess the argument, Simon, I'd make is if you're doing the calculations on money, then you're asking how much do you lose if you don't get into the Champions League versus what you'd have to pay him off, which I think is rumoured to be about 8 to 10 million. But again, rumoured being the key word. So, you know, let me kind of flip your question on its head a little bit. Isn't it weird that we don't have any communication from the club at all about the aims, achievements, goals for the season? Nothing. It's just quiet. And that's what happens when you've got absentee owners who jet in every now and again. We ain't making top 5. Not good enough, said Stevie Boy. So the only thing, dude, that makes me think it's possible is Chelsea's run-in. They've got Port Vale in the FA Cup. Then they have 2 home games, one against City, one against United. Then they're away at the Amex against Brighton. Then they have Nottingham Forest at Stamford Bridge. Then they come to Anfield. Then they have Spurs at Stamford Bridge. And they finish away at Sunderland. So the only hope I actually have for us getting top 5, Stevie Boy, is because of that run-in and other teams' failures. Not because of us becoming better. I think we'll be the least inconsistent of the inconsistent teams. Les, how are you, Les? Said, we've lost 10 league games, first time in 10 years. How long is it that since we've lost 11 in a season? I don't know to hand, mate, but 10 league games from 31. It seems inconceivable to me, Les, that we lose 10 league games in 31. And again, let's not forget PSV Eindhoven beat us on our own patch. Like, what happened to Anfield being a fortress? It isn't anymore. And again, that's down to him. Do you think it's possible that they prioritise the Champions League over all other competitions and just don't care about the other competitions? It almost seems like they're playing that way. Totally understand why you think like that. Yeah, I totally get it. But all I can say to you is it's a very dangerous game to play. Because if you don't win it, and let's be honest, you know, prioritising to win a Champions League is very, very difficult, full stop, because it's a really volatile competition. It's knockout football. So anything can happen. All best laid plans can be in the bin. You know, an early red card in one game. 15 minutes of madness where you can see 3 goals and that's it. Whole thing can be flipped on its head and bye-bye. So if I'm looking at our route to winning a Champions League, it's got to be PSG, then it's going to be Real Madrid or Bayern Munich, and then Arsenal probably or Barcelona. I mean, with us not being able to beat relegation fodder Wolves, Spurs and Brighton, I find it very difficult to see how we're going to beat all of these teams on our way to lifting all big ears. And I'm not fooled by the Galatasaray performance because I tried to tell everybody all week coming up to the game that it was going to be straightforward. That Galatasaray don't travel well. That if we show up and play at all anyway decent, we'll win that game comfortably. And that's exactly what happened. Because they aren't a very good team. They don't travel well. And we did show up and we played them off the park and thoroughly deserved to win. Could have been 6, 7, 8-0. Back-to-back leagues is just as hard. Absolutely. Absolutely. It is. No doubt about it. But that has to be the aim. You don't want to know. Like, I don't know about you, mate. I can only give you my opinion on this, but do you remember after the Jurgen Klopp title? It was already shit because the fans couldn't celebrate it properly because of COVID. Then you had the really poor defence, and then we had loads of people laughing at us talking about the poorest title defence. This is it again. You know, I've been reading a lot of articles over the last week from like credible journalists talking about this again being one of the poorest, if not the poorest title defence. That doesn't really make sense when you see the players and the amount of money we spent and the calibre of people we brought in. There's no reason that this should have been the worst title defence. And I'm not saying we had a God-given right to go and win the league, but we certainly should be closer to the top of it than we are. Love from Lauren said, I can't imagine how devastated the Liverpool away fans must be paying hundreds for travel and overnight stay to watch that shite. Yep. And not only that, I said this at the time and I'll repeat it now. That League Cup game, he insulted everybody that paid their money. I know people that travelled from Ireland, different parts of Europe, the length and breadth of the UK, to go pay their money. Maybe some of them it's the only opportunity they get to go to see a Liverpool game because League Cup or other cup schemes are a way some people can get to go. So they went there and they were met with that team selection. Can you imagine you're bringing, let's say, your significant other, your kids, your nieces, your friends to the stadium for the first time, or you're trying to get your children to understand the magic of Anfield, and you're able to get tickets and you bring them there that night, and you're in there with your kids and your family and you're excited, and then the team news drops. And you see, not only is it a really, really changed 11, but that there's nothing on the bench. No calibre of top tier player. So you know straight away that he's thrown this. That was insulting to the extreme. And again, did it look like nobody gave a shit about that League Cup final when you seen Arsenal and Man City fans in there? You telling me Liverpool fans wouldn't have liked to have been there? Of course we would. But he made that decision to get 3 points against Villa, who are now ahead of us in the league table. So even that decision backfired. The owners must know the Champions League money is important for next season. Not getting rid now is risking it. How is it risking it more than keeping them, though? You know, I'd love to know the answer to that from them. Because if you're looking at our last 3 games, that's the form, right? That's the form we're in the league. 1 point in 9. So what looking at that makes them think that the best option is to keep the man who can't beat Wolves, can't beat Brighton, can't beat Spurs. The only Spurs point that they've picked up under Tudor was against us. So if I'm looking at that, I find it very difficult to believe that sticking with this man and the form we're in is the best opportunity to get that 5th spot versus bringing in somebody who can motivate the players a bit differently. Just my take on it, but I just don't see how 1 point in 9 translates into being better than an interim manager. I mean, I could manage this team to 1 point in 9. You could manage this team to 1 point in 9. Nomad said, I went to that game. It was my first time at Anfield. Oh my days. Fuck. That must have been, felt like a kick in the nuts, I'd say, mate. From our last 7 games, how many do you think we honestly win? It's really difficult to say. Let's say, I'm trying to be fair about this. 7 games. I feel like 13 or 14 points is most probable from 7 games. We should be looking at 15, 16, maybe more. But yeah, I think 13 or 14 points is probably where I think we're likely to go in that direction from what we're seeing. But again, hard to know when you've got Jekyll and Hyde Liverpool, not knowing which one's going to show up on any day. Leo said, hey Craig, I personally like Robbo and Rio on the left compared to Kirkes and Gakpo. Slot rarely does this though. Thoughts? Um, I don't understand why we can't go Kirkes and Rio. Myself. Yeah, and you're right. There has been a pattern of when he plays Rio, Robbo's been a left back. And I'm sure that there's a reason for that. Maybe it's experience. But the future of our football club is going to be these youngsters. And Kirkes, I think, has blossomed really well as the season's gone on. So why not? You know, again, it feels like undermining again to me, mate. You know, if you don't think Kirkes can play with Rio or he has the experience or game management to be able to follow the instruction to maybe be a bit less attack minded with Rio there, I think that's undermining Milos Kerkez again from the manager. And that again is another thing I feel he's done consistently this year, is undermine players. Let's be honest, the ones running the club don't know what to do with us at the moment, because that news about Edwards only being interested in the multi-club model just feels like something is wrong. It does, mate, yeah. And you would have to wonder what changed there, because the article that I read the other day said himself, Pedro Marquez and Julian Ward have gone all around Europe and other parts, looking at clubs, putting together a dossier for the owners, and it's seemingly been shelved. Now, what's frustrating about that is, one, it's a waste of 2 years. Also, it's a lot of money that have been paid, and we're none closer to that multi-club model. And again, we don't even get any communication from the owners or the club about whether that's still in the works. This is what I'm saying. There's so much fans are kept in the dark on. And yeah, to an extent, some things you're not going to want to tell the fans. You're not going to want to lay all your game plans out to people. But it just, communication has been a problem with these owners for me since they've come in. And they only tend to communicate in times of crisis. And I don't like that. Lauren, I'm sorry you're chronically sick, mate. I just seen your post there, and I do hope things are as good for you as can be, my friend. Exciting. GG said, I genuinely believe that Slot will get until the end of the season and they will somehow keep him for next season. Genuinely, I don't know if I'm able to go through another season of him, and I'm not joking when I say that. I don't know, mate. Honestly, I'll have to come back on that one, whether I'll be able to come on for another season of it, because this has been the toughest season for me as a Liverpool fan of any, bar none. From obviously the tragedy with Diogo, which was a really tough time for all of us, even just trying to figure out what the right thing to do, you know, whether you stream or not was tough. Then you had the season being a massive disappointment based off an incredible summer. So if they again keep him on after all of that, oh, I don't know. I don't know if I have it in me to go through another year of it. Chris said, I finally stopped watching games after Galatasaray first leg and started taking my mum out during the sunshine, and I feel so much better for it. No more slot ball. Yeah, I'm hoping that a week away and not having to think about where we are as a football club for that week is going to give me a bit of a breather as well, Chris. I'm mentally exhausted after this season and the injury that I picked up in October. That's, you know, I'm still not fully healed from. So yeah, it's been a tiring one, and I get where you're coming from. I hope that I can come back feeling a bit refreshed and a bit more clear-eyed. Right, we finally got a breakthrough in this one. 51% to 49%. 51% of you guys said you would not be happy if Liverpool signed Ronald Araujo, and 49% said you would. Finally got the tiebreaker there after just over 2,000 votes. You can see very much a split with fans' take on that one. David, how are you, sir? Evening, Craig and community. I've stopped flying in for games for the last 3 months and not wasting money and time. I prefer to fly home to see family. That's That's so disappointing for you. I mean, I'm not disappointed in you, David. That's not what I'm trying to say. But again, I understand it. I understand it. You know, imagine you're traveling home and away, and I'd say the love of the club and the camaraderie is probably what's keeping those people going at this moment in time. Because there's not much from a team perspective, but you know, the fun that they have traveling with people home and away, and the relationships and friendships they've built up. You know, I'm sure that's what's keeping a lot of the match going fans like that going, because it must be so difficult. Because imagine traveling, as somebody said earlier on, all the way down to Brighton for a 12:30 kickoff on Saturday morning. Probably either taking time off work or certainly setting out really early in the morning to go all the way down there, spend your money, travel the amount of hours it is up and back, and then seeing that performance again. You know, and you're going down there thinking, right, Wednesday, we played so well on Wednesday. Is this it? Are we back? Are we going to be, is this us now? And we all said it that Wednesday, that this is it now, no excuses. This is what we have to be like going forward. This is now the standard. They've shown they can do it. Let's go. And the very first game after it, we go and get beaten at the Amex by Brighton. Danny Welbeck scoring a brace. And Danny Welbeck, by the way, running rings around our two centre-backs and bullying them. And it's not me saying that. Match of the Day we're saying that. He's bullying. 35-year-old Danny Welbeck had Virgil van Dijk and Canade all over the shop. At certain clubs like Barca, Real Madrid, Bayern and United, Liverpool, the manager not only has an obligation to do well, but playing well, attractive football. Yes, exactly, Terence. Exactly. There's a way about it, an identity. And if you look at any team, you look at Arsenal's team, you know what the identity is. You might not like the brand of football they play, but you know what they are about. You look at Pep Guardiola's Manchester City teams, you know what they're about. You look at De Zerbi's teams playing, you know what they're about. Look at our team. What the fuck is our identity? We thought we knew what it was. Then Arna comes in, puts his own stamp on it, and we're going backwards. And we look like we don't understand what we're trying to do out there. So yeah, identity is a big part of this problem. I can't imagine another season of slot ball and slots. Excuses. It's been draining, to say the least, said Tez. Tez, mate, it has. And I don't say this because I want sympathy. I'm just trying to give you my context of this season. Because let me start off by saying it's a privilege to do what I do. It's a joy, and I'm very fortunate. But when days like Saturday happen, and I've sit through the game with you guys, I'm frustrated, I'm annoyed by it, then I have to regather myself, come back on that night knowing what I'm walking into. I'm walking into my fellow Liverpool fans being frustrated, disappointment and angry. And sometimes that anger ends up being turned on each other. So this season has been a mentally draining one more than any other from my time watching Liverpool. Because at least the Hodgson era, and I didn't make content at that time, but at least in that era I knew what we were. We hadn't got the money. You know, the owners were all over the shop. We couldn't attract players. We hadn't got the greatest squad. So you understood why you were limited. I'm not saying it didn't hurt, but you understood it. I can't figure out how we ended up here. And I can't figure out why he went away from what made us us. And that really frustrates me. So when I come on and I know I'm walking into unhappy, hurt, frustrated people, that takes its toll on me as well, because then I'm not only got my own frustration, but I'm then seeing people whom I care about and I've gotten to know over the years on here feeling the same way. Some people whom I know this is a release for them. You know, they come in to have a bit of fun, switch off. That's what I do as well. Football is supposed to be our escape. But these days, as football fans, not only do we have to understand the game, we have to understand the finances, we have to understand the training methods, we have to understand the corporate structure, we have to understand fucking what the Court of Arbitration for Sport is. All this absolute bollocks that we shouldn't have to make do with as fans. It's supposed to be our escapism. These days, it's feeling more like a chore for many people. Yeah, and look, I I take my responsibility very seriously. And when I come on for the streams like Saturday night, not the match day stuff, but later that night, I come back on because I want people to be able to vent and frustrate. I want people to be able to go to bed at night feeling like they were heard. Even if it's just me that's hearing it or us in the community together. At least you're getting a chance to vent that frustration. And of course, I get a chance to vent as well. So I find that very helpful to me, and I hope other people find it helpful as well. But I'd much rather coming back on to talk about the excitement we felt or the incredible performances we'd put in. And, you know, like I said, that last summer, if I could bottle that feeling of optimism, that feeling of goodwill in the fan base, it's incredible. It was absolutely phenomenal. To ensure Craig has a good week's holiday, you should know I've removed his phone and lappy from him. Enjoy, bro. I don't actually own a laptop, Chris, to be honest with you. I used to use one. But these days I just use what is it called? A Mac Studio. Yeah. Um, do you know what though? On a bit of a lighter note, the amount of people who think that daddy clip was me talking to my daughter is actually insane. Like, if that was me talking to my child, even though she is 21, I should be locked up. But I want to make clear once again, that was absolutely me talking with my wife. And yes, that doesn't make the cringiness any less, but I just want to make sure people know that. Training is too lax, said Terence. No wonder we're being outrun and out hustled by opponents weekly. We don't even run as much as our opponents, and it's not like we're winning matches and protecting leads. Exactly. Exactly. I had to tell my friend that it was about your wife because he'd seen the clip. I couldn't actually, like, I thought people have heard Sabrina's voice before. People know what Sabrina sounds like. People know that's my wife. David said, I turned up to the Palace game. The game, refund, please. The Palace Cup game, refund, please. Yeah, I'd say there's been a few this year that people have regretted. I mean, like, for me, again, not looking for sympathy, but that Manchester United game for me was a bucket list game. And that trip over, including the £700 match ticket, cost me about 1,600 quid for 3 days. Without any food, drink, or whatever, just hotel, travel, stuff like that. Once in a lifetime thing, and they were so bad that it was torture. It was just torture looking at Mboma scoring in 62 seconds. Yeah. So yeah, I don't think they'll be getting my £700 again anytime soon. As great as the staff were at Anfield, and I can't speak highly enough of them, they were incredible. But yeah, it's if you're asking people to spend that much money to go and watch Liverpool with the more hospitality seats that are available these days, they're going to want to be entertained, you know. And unfortunately, that's the modern football dilemma that we all wrestle with. If you're asking people to pay top dollar, then those people are going to want to be entertained, and those people are going to want to feel like they've got value for money. And if you're leaving there frustrated at a really effortless, tame performance, you're not going to get these people back. You're not going to get them breaking the bank to go again. Yeah. Itachi said, wishing you a nice, well-deserved holiday, my friend. Thank you, bro. Appreciate you. Last time we went away, it was double jinx, you know, because we had this. There was the numpty situation, which meant I had to cancel, postpone a few days, and then go somewhere else because we needed to get that sorted. Then I went and I picked up an injury in the airport in Lanzarote, and I did nerve damage in my shoulder. So then I came home, went to the United game in agony after getting physio and being on a lot of painkillers. Did my show in Liverpool that night because I didn't want to let people down, but it was extra pain for that trip because that performance, losing to United at Anfield is sickening. Especially when you're going into it thinking we're a better team. Because they weren't in a good place at that point either. I've cancelled my Sky Sports for this year, said Joey. Totally understand that, Joey. It's again, this is what gets me, Joey, when we're called armchair fans or fake fans, right? As if it doesn't cost everybody a fortune to watch football. Any Liverpool fan around the world gets their TV packages being the optimum word now because there's multiple. Then you've got, of course, your membership if you want to try have a chance to go to games and get tickets. Then you've got your jerseys, your merch and all that stuff, like, because you want to stay involved. And yeah, it's more and more expensive. And again, there's that line now of what sport and entertainment. Where are you going on holiday? Lanzarote. How long am I going for? A week. I always try to book a little break during the international periods because, it's easier. I'm not missing any Liverpool games. I think Connor's gone away as well, but not at the same time. There's a bit of a crossover when he's going away. So there'll always be somebody at the Anfield Agenda helm anyway. Connor will be putting out news videos while I'm away, and then when he's away, I'll carry on with the streams and stuff. What am I doing during the break? Just going away, spending time with my family. Yeah, we've got a couple of nice excursions booked. We've got a catamaran booked one day. We've got a night out booked another day, a meal and a night out, and a few other little bits and pieces. But I'm so boring. Honestly, I spend most of my time just sitting at the house over there, out in the sun, listening to podcasts or listening to music and just switching off. Yeah, I'm not a get up and go type person. I just need a bit of sunshine and a bit of peace and quiet, and that's me happy. Do you know what though? I'm gonna actually have a drink tomorrow night. I promised my daughter we get a couple of bottles of cava when we got over there, and yeah, I'm gonna have the first drink I've had in it's over a year anyway. I think since I've had a drink. Will I watch the Ireland game? Oh yes, definitely. Yeah, we'll find somewhere on Thursday to watch that. If we can't watch it in the house, we'll definitely watch it. I'm from the south. So far in the south, going to watch lads cost me a fortune. I remember speaking to a friend of ours that used to be on the podcast years ago, and it was cheaper for me to fly over and back than it was for him to get the train up from, I think, Cornwall. I think it was around that part of the UK, which always blew my mind, like that it was cheaper for me to come over and travel. Even with the hotel, it was cheaper than he paid for the train fare. Wolski said, perfect outcome, Slot sacked now and Gerrard in on an interim basis. With Gerrard, you would hope for top 5 finish. Alonso and this new manager at the end of the season. Liverpool squad in next window. Yes, Liverpool spend in the next window. That would be what I'd do, mate. I recommend Cantina, Don Rafael and L'Italiano and Porto del Carmen. We're headed down to Playa Blanca. We are going up to Puerto del Carmen one night for the what was it called, the Rancho Texas night thing. We're going up to one night, but that's in Puerto del Carmen. But we're going to Playa Blanca, which is down the other end. It's a bit quieter, and as a boring fucker like I am, quietness is definitely what I want. Petter said, as a Faroes person, we have a close relationship to Denmark. We're part of the Danish kingdom. So if Ireland and Denmark meet in the final, I'll have to root against you. That's okay, mate. I totally understand that. We've got obviously Czechia first, which is a difficult away game. But I do think if we manage to get back to Dublin and get the second game, which was likely going to be against Denmark, I think it'll be tough for Denmark. Look, they're a good team and they've put us to the sword in Dublin before, but there's a good vibe around at the minute, and I think if they can get it back to Dublin, they'll get an extra few percentage points out of those players. Do I like the Cranberries? The band? Yeah, of course. Some great songs. Aidan, thank you, bro. Right back at you. In Lanzarote, we went to Costa Teguise. It's beautiful. Yeah, the last time we went to Lanzarote, we initially booked into Costa Teguise, but we didn't like the hotel, so we changed and we went back down to Playa Blanca. But look, I'm really looking forward to it. I can't wait to go. I hate airports. I'm a bag of anxiety going through them, but I can't wait. Yeah, really excited. Just want to spend some time with Lucas as well. Some proper father son time and do some fun stuff with him. Do you go to the Canaries every year? No, no. Sometimes we go over to Murcia. Some of my uncles have places over there, so we go over to Murcia sometimes and meet up with them. And yeah, just Spain's a handy little flight, you know. Lanzarote's about 4 hours, but you know it's worth it for the winter sun. Yeah, just I love Spain, like I've said to you guys before, and I love going to Turkey as well. We've been quite a few times over to Turkey, and I always have a great time over there. It's an absolutely beautiful country. If you ever get the chance, the Aegean coast is absolutely stunning. Don't forget the passport. Don't worry, she's already packed away, and I've got the passport card with me as well, just in case. Never been to Spain. Is it any good? Yeah, it's great. Yeah, I love it. I've been going to Spain since I was 6. I think it was my first holiday over there. So, yeah, we used to go to Mallorca all the time when I was a kid. My dad used to go over to Santa Ponsa all the time. A typical Dublin destination. But, yeah, these days we like the Canaries. You know, it's nice and quiet. Will you be rocking Speedos? Do you know what, Dave? I actually realised today I don't even have any swimming shorts, mate. So I'll probably have to pick up a pair over there, but absolutely not. I will not be wearing Speedos. Not one chance, no. Swimming shorts all the way. I had a 10-hour flight delay in Lanzarote last year. Ouch. Ooh, that's a horrible delay. I hope you're flying Aer Lingus. No, Ryanair all the way. Nope, nothing wrong with Ryanair. We're flying Aer Lingus to Toronto in September, but yeah, no, we're Ryanair all the way. Paul said I loved Greece better. Yeah, spent time in Greece as well. In Crete, enjoyed it. Been over there a few times. Andrew, happy birthday, mate. You said it's your birthday. Happy birthday to you. Right, really quickly, let me recap all the news and then we'll finish up. So let me run through the stories for you from today. We'll start off with the situation with PSG, by the way. This game could still be postponed, their league game. So the Board of Professional Football League of France has confirmed that Paris Saint-Germain does not need Lens' agreement to reschedule the fixture. Article 22 gives the board full power to modify matches throughout the season without consent from both clubs. Lens' coach has already confirmed that the club has no intention of postponing. If PSG proceeds, it could set a major precedent and seriously distort the League One title race. That's according to L'Equipe. Then there was more on this, actually. PSG have requested the postponement of their league away game to Lens to rest their players between the Champions League quarter-finals against Liverpool. The game is likely to be postponed, although Lens have voiced their disagreement. Then there was a post from LiveScore that showed days since the Premier League Big Six last won a major trophy. Manchester City, 1 day obviously. Chelsea, 299 days. Liverpool, 302 days. Spurs, 306 days. Manchester United, 667 days. Arsenal, 2,060 days since Arsenal picked up a major trophy. Then we covered all the stuff with Gattuso and Chiesa, him being unfit or not fit enough to stay with the squad. Then we had Jadon Dan suffered a minor hamstring problem and will miss the next 3 to 4 weeks as a precaution. Then we talked a little bit about Sky Sports coverage of Liverpool's ranking for distance covered this season sees us ranked right down in the relegation zone for the amount of distance we've covered. Then we gone through some of the quotes from Jurgen Klopp, basically saying that he's no plans to come back into management. We talked a little bit about one former Liverpool player put it in a press room over the weekend, said Slot made the mistake of alluding to the dreaded T word. If you tell football players they're entitled to feel tired, it can become a self-fulfilling prophecy. There is some suggestion that Liverpool have been trying to manage their workload all season and that this has impacted the team's tactics. Certainly the pressing game of old is gone. For fans, a side once famed for its intensity has become unrecognisable. Slot favours a slower, more controlled possession game, but then bemoans Liverpool's inability to break down defences. He laments the rising importance of set pieces, but then sees Thomas Grontmark as their old throwing coach working with leaders Arsenal. The win over Galatasaray was a reminder that this team are at their best when they play a higher tempo, channeling the Liverpool of old. Their inability or unwillingness to do this under Slot physically, mentally and tactically has been a problem for them all season. Then we had Matt Law, The Telegraph, saying exclusive, Roberto De Zerbi open to permanent Spurs job if the club stay in the Premier League. And he also said Spurs are in the final stages of sporting director hunt. Sources in Germany believe Sebastian Kell is in the frame. Here's one I actually haven't gone through yet. Liverpool watch Bouadi for Lille. The 18-year-old is a key part of the first team picture, having risen through the academy ranks. At the weekend, he was impressive and his side secured a hard-fought 2-1 win away at Marseille. And that performance was witnessed in person by Liverpool recruiters, as well as representatives from Arsenal, Chelsea and Manchester City. A report in Team Talk mentions Arsenal's interest, stating that Bouadi is very much on the agenda for the Carabao Cup finalists, but don't discount Liverpool, where staff have been bowled over by Bouadi and over the last 12 months or so. What's this one? Then we talked about Ronald Araujo and Mundo Deportivo, saying Liverpool interest in Araujo signals defensive recalibration. Araujo's situation carries a different dynamic. The Uruguayan centre-back, still only 25, has experienced fluctuating performance under Hansi Flick. That has not gone unnoticed in England. Reports suggest Liverpool could test the waters with an offer in the region of €35 million. From a market perspective, that figure would appear modest given Araujo's pedigree, physical profile and contract length, which runs until 2031, following his renewal in January of 2025. Barcelona's position is strengthened further by interest from other heavyweights, including Bayern Munich and Inter Milan. Then we ran through Chelsea's fixtures that they have coming up, which is Port Vale, then they're a home to City and then United, then they're away at the Amex against Brighton, a home to Nottingham Forest, away against us, a home against Spurs, and they finish up against Sunderland. What else we got? I think that's pretty much it, actually, from the main stuff we've gone through tonight. Now there's a statement from Lawns that Keane has just sent on to me. Let me read this out to you. So this said, communication from Racing Club de Lens. On March 6th, the rescheduling of the match pitting Racing Club de Lens against Paris Saint-Germain was finalised, formalising a framework to which everybody was then invited to adhere. In a spirit of responsibility and restraint, Racing Club de Lens, from the very first requests, made it known to Paris Saint-Germain its intention not to see this date changed. True to a certain idea of sporting stability, the club has also chosen to refrain from any public communication on this subject. However, the recent proliferation of statements, interventions and various suggestions now leads us to break from this reserve. It does indeed appear to us that a troubling sentiment is taking hold, that a French championship gradually relegated to the status of an adjustment variable at the whim of a European imperatives of some. A singular conception of sporting equity, the equivalent of which is hard to find in other major continental competitions. Changing the date of this match today would mean for Racing Club de Lens being deprived of competition for 15 days and then chaining matches every 3 days, a rhythm that corresponds neither to one defined at the start of the championship nor to the resources a club that could absorb this type of new constraint without consequence. It would therefore be understood that the 10th budget in the championship should adapt to the demands of the most powerful in the name of interests that evidently now extend beyond the domestic framework, which has already been highlighted in recent sessions. League One reduced to 18 clubs. So basically, they ain't happy, and understandably. Why should they bend to the will of Paris Saint-Germain? It's a title race. And they've made a very fair point there. If they have 15 days without games, they don't want that. They want to be in a rhythm. They want to be ready. So I hope, obviously, the game goes ahead, because it means that they don't have as much time to rest in between the quarterfinals against us. And, you know, so we certainly won't be getting any favours from the Premier League, nor will Arsenal. Get that vitamin D in you, Craig, and get energised. That's the hope, my man. That's the hope. Right, folks, I'm going to say my goodnight to you all. I'll see you in a week. Connor will be here in the morning with some videos as well. And if anything breaks, any injuries or anything like that, touch wood, it doesn't while I'm away, I'll jump on, record a video and let you guys know. But appreciate you all, and thank you so much for joining me tonight. Appreciate you, and have a wonderful week. We'll see you soon. Take care. Bye-bye.